Girl doesn't want grandma to babysit. Mom installs cameras. Girl doesn't want grandma to babysit. Her mom installs cameras. She'd been convinced that her daughter was in good hands at her grandma's house. But when the child stopped talking altogether, the mom knew something was terribly wrong. She wanted her daughter and grandma to bond. She'd believed grandma's house was a cozy haven full of baked pastries, cuddly teddies, and warm milk. She'd soon find out just how wrong she was. Please subscribe to the channel to see more videos. For endless months, visits to Grandma June's house had been the highlight for Haley James and her 6-year-old daughter, Susie. The two had always loved visiting June's house. It had been a source of love and laughter for them, making them always look forward to it. But out of nowhere, Susie started acting differently right after she visited her grandma. Once a bubbly kid, she'd become quiet and withdrawn, barely smiling or laughing. Whenever she came from her grandma's, she looked visibly scared whenever Haley told her they'd be visiting Grandma June or that the grandma would be babysitting while Haley was off at work. Haley didn't know what to make of the behavior. Was it a phase, or was there something happening to her daughter at June's house that she didn't know about? Haley couldn't tell when this behavior started. All she could remember was that one Saturday morning, Susie started complaining about not wanting to visit her grandmother anymore. Of course, Haley took her to June's a few days later. That's when she noticed how quiet her daughter was. Something was wrong, and the mom needed to get to the bottom of it before it was too late. Caught between wanting to be Susie's perfect mom and June's best daughter, Haley found herself between a rock and a hard place. What had once been a source of love and laughter had quickly devolved into a stressful situation for her. She didn't want her daughter to grow up without experiencing the joys of being a granddaughter, but she also didn't want Susie to feel like she was suffocating whenever they visited Grandma June. Trying to find a balance between the two, Haley decided to reduce the trips to her mom's place. Her mom couldn't understand why the visits, which had been a weekly thing, were slowly decreasing. Haley couldn't tell her. She couldn't break her heart like that. She'd also noticed a slight difference in Susie's demeanor. The girl seemed less miserable, although her face always fell whenever Haley brought up Grandma June. What was happening? Haley had hoped she'd have more time to get to the bottom of the issue, but out of nowhere, she got a call from her boss informing her she'd be a part of a team that would go out of town for a business meeting that weekend. She knew what that meant. She'd be gone for at least 2 days and would need someone to watch over her daughter. Haley slowly exhaled. There was no way this wouldn't end in disaster. Summoning the courage to endure seeing her daughter's heart get broken, Haley called Susie and informed her she'd have to spend the weekend at Grandma June's. "Mommy," the girl stated, her bottom lip trembling and her eyes already glossy, "you said you wouldn't go there unless we really need to." "I don't want to, please." Haley had to look away to wipe her own tears. "I really need to," she said, and her daughter's tears finally let loose. But Susie didn't protest or try to convince her otherwise. She'd seemingly accepted her fate, which was even more heartbreaking to watch. She walked away with her head hung low, heading straight to her room to sleep. Haley got everything ready the following day and drove her daughter to Grandma June's. The elderly woman was more than delighted to see her daughter and granddaughter again. She hugged Haley tightly, but her smile seemed to waver the moment she hugged Susie, as if she sensed something was wrong. But quickly, she masked her shock and wrapped her arms around the 6-year-old. If only Haley knew the mistake she was making. Haley left Susie at Grandma June's and went on her business trip. But that night, while in her hotel room, she couldn't help but feel like she'd made a terrible mistake letting her mom babysit. She knew June didn't mind watching over Susie. The two had been close for years, and this would have been the right move for Haley. But Susie, for some reason, didn't want to even talk about her grandma, let alone visit and spend time with her. But everything was about to come to light. Haley was still lost in thought when her phone started ringing. She read for surprised when she saw it was her mom. "Hi," she answered, still taken aback because June rarely called, choosing to text mostly. Grandma June's voice was trembling with worry as she spoke. She reported there was something odd about Susie. "She's been acting quite strangely since she got here." "I don't know what's wrong." Haley ended the call more worried than she already was. She couldn't even sleep that night, trying to piece together the different pieces of this puzzle. She couldn't get the image of Susie crying when she told her she'd have to spend the weekend at her grandma's out of her head. The girl looked so helpless and meek, as if this was a death sentence. But what could Haley do when she herself didn't know what was happening? Haley did the only thing she could. She called her boss and explained she had a home emergency. Since she'd already spent the first day of the trip with her coworkers and the business associates they were to meet, would it be okay if she rushed home? Her boss, who knew and appreciated Susie, agreed almost immediately. "Go, I hope everything's all right. Keep me posted." Haley got into her car as fast as humanly possible. She immediately drove to her mom's, knowing she'd get there a day earlier. Thoughts scoured her mind as she stepped onto the gas, shifting gears as she sped down.